What is up, guys? FlamingVictini here, and we are back to slithering on Slither.io. Now, today I'm not going to really be talking about my Slither games at all, although I am hoping that I'll eventually get the leaderboard. Instead, I'm just going to be talking about some new stuff that's been going on in Pokemon. So, recently Hoopa was banned, and Volcanion was released. So this is, I think, really interesting that we lost one of the best wall breakers in the tier, definitely a really powerful wall breaker, and I personally thought that Hoopa should have been banned, and it was, but the reason I thought that it should be banned is because it just created a really low risk, high reward position for the opponent when there we go. It just creates a really low risk, high reward position for the person who's using Hoopa, because the ways to punish Hoopa were really poor, where you had Pursuit, which wasn't really a really good option. You had pressure to stop it from coming in, and you had hazards to wear it down so that your attackers could take it out. And Hoopa just created positions where if they predicted correctly, they would just get a kill, but if they didn't, then you would have a hard time punishing them. And it basically made Pursuit mandatory on a lot of teams, and even these types of teams that relied on Pursuit instead to take out Hoopa, like Scarf Tart, could really be screwed up by sets like E-Bell, Drain Punch, and stuff like that. So I definitely think Hoopa was a worthy ban. Now, how I think Hoopa, yeah, it was really close though, definitely really close, and I actually was leaning no ban early on, but I eventually saw the light. I'm pretty sure that Hoopa did. I think it was better for the OU metagame that Hoopa left, but anyway, what does this mean for the metagame? Now, people keep giving this dumb argument that somehow we need to keep Hoopa around so that stall is not going to be a problem. One, Hoopa does not even, I don't even consider Hoopa a proper stall breaker, because I think the best stall team is the one that ABR developed with, well, I mean, is literally just the best 5 stall mons plus Weavile. Now, I respect Piffstall. Piffstall is pretty creative, and I think it's pretty cool too. Oh, come on. I like Piffstall. If you don't know, Piffstall is Tangrowth, Jirachi, Sableye, Chansey, Quagsire, and some random last, so that I can't remember. It's always the last one that I can't remember, but I was actually planning to laddering with that sometime. It just seemed like a cool team, but the other team that's really threatening, and I'm sure all of you guys know about by now, is Weavile Stall. And Weavile Stall is incredibly good, just because it gives Stall the ability to pressure its opponent, which is really nice, and Weavile threatens a lot of attackers that are threatening to Stall, such as Taunt, Life Orb, Tornadus, and Hoopa. So I really didn't consider Hoopa to be the best stall breaker all around, and really Stall is just a really matchup styled, it's a really matchup based playstyle because of Sableye. Now, when the Sableye suspect rolled around, I think I voted do not ban, but Stall still creates a lot of trouble for some teams, because if you can't get up hazards, and you need to cater your team to have some specific wall breakers, and even then it's not enough. So I mean, I never considered Hoopa to be the greatest stall breaker anyway, but my whole point with this is that there are other ways to beat stall than Hoopa, and like, I'm just telling you, there are other ways to beat. I can't be bothered to think about what these ways might be, but there definitely are more ways to beat stall than with Hoopa, and arguing that something should be around to beat something else, like we should keep 2 broken mons in the tier because they check each other, is a really poor argument in my opinion. So like, the whole stall argument is like really bad. So definitely I think Hoopa just created a lot of pressure that was really unhealthy in the metagame. It really constrained team building, and even then, like, the best checks to it were really not that good, and just Hoopa just created such high reward, low risk positions that like worse players could consistently beat better players with the use of Hoopa, if you know what I mean. Like the game, in an ideal competitive game, the better player should be winning most of the time, but Hoopa creates a situation where someone inexperienced in the game can still create really good positions for themselves just because they have the asset of Hoopa. And Hoopa's just so strong, man. It was really strong. I wanted more time to play with it, and at first I thought it was manageable because all of my teams had decent methods at least, of dealing with Hoopa. But Hoopa is definitely a threat. definitely a threat. So I definitely agree with the ban. Now, Volcanion. So when I first saw Volcanion, I thought it would be good, but not that game-breaking, mainly because it really has a really middling speed. It's really middling speed, a weakness to stealth rocks, and it seemed kind of similar to Keldeo in the sense that they had really similar special attacks. Both would likely be running spec sets, and both had like Volcanion. Even like let's comparing Volcanion stats to Keldeo's. I actually think Keldeo has better def bulk, which is kind of interesting. But Volcanion has insane physical bulk, and this is one of the assets of Volcanion. I've definitely played with it a lot, and tanking EQs to KO back is pretty insane. It's a pretty nice check to Scizor. It can potentially check knockoff users if you already get knocked off, like Bisharp and Weavile, provided they don't SD in your face, but it's not really reliable. But the defensive sets can definitely take them on a lot more reliably, and I'll talk about defensive sets Volcanions more, but because I don't think that's the main thing that stood out to me about Volcanion, but it's really not that similar to Keldeo because of its fire typing. Well, I mean, saying that it's a good check to fairies I think is a really poor argument, because Calm Mind Clefable can 1v1 Volcanion on the Switch, so you really need to have secondary checks to fairies. Volcanion without Sludge Wave can't beat Altaria, and even if it can, DD Altaria can get that +1 and then EQ. The Volcanion, especially if it probably needs a little chip damage to KO, but that shouldn't be hard with rocks and stuff. And Diancie KOs it, Psyshock and 2 KOs from Gardevoir, so it's not really the best fairy check, but it definitely has that resistance, which can be useful. But the other thing is that not looking defensively, rather than looking defensively comparing Volcanion and Keldeo, let's look at offensively. The main asset about Volcanion is it has Fire Stab. And that's really big, because it means that grass types like Celebi, Amoonguss, Venusaur, even Venusaur can't really safely come in on Volcanion, whereas they do come in on Keldeo. And actually, the amount of switch-ins to Volcanion is really low, and it turns out that some of the most common and best switch-ins, like the Laddies, they're trapped by Pursuit really hard, and I've always thought Bantar was really good. If you know me really well, you know that I hate Scarftar, and I think that it's almost always suboptimal to Choppletar, except for in some teams it's definitely the right set to use. And I always love to use Bantar because it hits so strong. It's a truck, and it has Tyranitar overall is just such an amazing mon with its great natural bulk, decent typing considering the major threats of the OU metagame. Like, I really like Tyranitar, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. But I mean, Volcanion and Tyranitar are amazing options. I think Volcanion should almost always be run with Pursuit or a really sturdy Steel type, because it really helps with the Laddies. And I mean, other checks to Volcanion, I guess, like Suicune and stuff, but like the main like common mons in the OU tier that already check Volcanion are not the most reliable, and like Latios, Steam Eruption and Fire Blast do over half to it, so even then it's not really the safest check, which is pretty insane if you think about it. So like the first thing that stood out to me was like team preview, so many times I led Volcanion because they had no good switch into it, and I could probably tank a hit from stuff that was faster than me, and I could actually, despite having a pretty low base speed, I could actually outrun a decent number of some teams and really threaten them. So this is what really stood out to me. I've used Specs Volcanion, and I've used both Specs and Mystic Water Volcanion. I think Mystic Water is really good when your team has a bit more like leeway, like that has like a Banded T-Tar or something to really trap those Latias. You don't really need the strength of Specs, and the utility of switching up moves can be really nice, especially when you bluff Specs, and everyone expects Specs. I don't know how I didn't die there. Okay, this guy's trying to get me. Okay, and, but everyone also expects the Spec set, so Mystic Water is pretty good too. I've heard of people using Volcanion Rain. Honestly, I think Keldeo does outclass Volcanion in the Rain. Other than Water Absorb, which again, in Volcanion's favor is actually a surprisingly nice defensive utility, I think Keldeo really outclasses Volcanion in the Rain. Because like Specs Hydro in the Rain does so much damage to like the grass types. It really does so much damage, it's ridiculous. Oh no, stop. Ugh, come on. Anyway, because Keldeo has the really high base speed, it checks Bisharp, which is a threat to rain teams oftentimes, and Keldeo Rain just seems so much better to me than Volcanion Rain, I'll be completely honest than you. But I could be proven wrong because Volcanion has already proven me wrong. I thought it would be a little subpar because of its like weakness to rocks and middling speed, but I'm at the moment I'm thinking it's gonna be OU just because it hits so strong. It really does not have the best switch-ins in this tier, and it's pretty good wall breaker. I wouldn't say it's broken at all, but it's definitely very, very good. It can deal a ton of damage to teams, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So, as for sets, Volcanion sets, offensive sets wise, I'd already talked about specs. These usually run Steam Eruption, Fire Blast, or I guess Flamethrower if you want to, and then the last moves are a toss-up. Earth Power hits other Volcanion. Sludge Wave, it is good neutral coverage and hits fairies and also hits Latias for decent damage. Let's see what else. No. Stop. There we go. Sorry, I got a little distracted by that guy, but they also run HP Grass or HP Electric. A lot of people prefer HP Grass to hit Rotom, but if your team is a little weak to Gyarados, I think HP Electric is fine because it also hits other Volcanion, which is kind of nice. Some things I haven't seen people using, but it definitely are usable, is Focus Blast, just because it hits Rotom just as hard as an HP Grass, like you risk missing. It also means you have a way to OHKO Tyrantars that are not Shoppleberry, which can be useful in a pinch for sure. And let's see what else. That's pretty much it for a spec set. Then the other set I didn't talk about, Life Orb Mixed, with Superpower. So the thing is, like, comparing to Keldeo does have Secret Sword, so I don't think it's like the greatest thing, but a lot of Volcanion won't be running Superpower. Like, I feel like taking the Life Orb damage is gonna heavily limit how well Volcanion can perform. I really enjoyed specs, but I could see Life Orb Superpower being good as a potential, like, stall breaker kind of in a sense, like really soften stall because you can power through Chansey, but with Superpower, and that can be really nice for your other special attackers. But yeah, so there's Life Orb mixed with Superpower. Now defensive sets. I actually, my very first team with Volcanion, I was experimenting with Rest Talk Volcanion plus Tangrowth. The other defensive set is Scalds, Flamethrower, Toxic, and Haze. Definitely Haze over Roar, and I think it's a really nice set too. I have to try it. The utility of... Am I trapped? Oh my god. The utility of something like, is this guy kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're actually gonna waste this time to trap me. I'm absolutely tiny. The heck? What does this guy think he is? No. What's this guy doing? My god. Anyway, what I was talking about, it has really nice defensive utility because Volcanion has really nice natural bulk. It can also status a lot of stuff, and Haze is always good. It can beat stuff like Calm Mind Slowbro, beat Talonflame, which is really, really nice. And the other thing, the set I was using though was Steam Eruption Rest Talk. With Rest Talk, Steam Eruption only has 8 PP, but with Rest Talk you can utilize Steam Eruption without wasting that PP, and I actually had a lot of special attack investment as well, so I kind of meant it to be like a bulky offensive tank of sorts, not really, not like, basically I meant it to be a tank, and yeah, basically I meant it to be a bulky tank that can kind of heal itself up, but toxic water types, and spread status basically, and I think it has pretty good defensive utility with Tangrowth, I think, but I know other grass types like Celebi and stuff like that, but yeah, that's defensive Volcanion. I can't think of any other Volcanion sets, but as for Volcanion teams and partners, so partners that immediately stood out in terms of Megas, Mega Diancie definitely stood out as a really good partner. Mega Scizor stands out as a good partner. Let's see, what else have I built with? Some other fairies. I think I built with Mega Altaria once. That seems okay. I built with, what other cores? I built with some grass types, like I tried building around Volcanion plus Serperior, Volcanion plus Mew. Volcanion plus Mew is a core that I think is really cool, and I haven't been able to get a team that I've been really happy with that core, but I think it's a really, oh my god, what the fuck? He literally went through me. But I think it's a really good core, and I think I'm still working on developing a team with Volcanion plus Mew, but I think it's a really potent combination. Oh, Mega Sableye, Volcanion plus Mega Sableye, definitely. But that tends to lead to really fat builds like Stall. But definitely still a good core. The other thing I did, I built a team with Volcanion plus Mega Sceptile, which I actually really like as a core. Because Sceptile just batters down those offensive teams and lures in a lot of stuff that Volcanion wants to come in and damage, and Volcanion does a lot of breaking, so it's a really interesting, and they also have good defensive synergy, and so that's like, I think, really nice core, and I have a team with it that I've been enjoying with a lot, and this video will actually go up after I record that after I upload that video, so you guys will already see this team with Volcanion plus Sceptile, but unless I upload this first. I don't know, I probably won't upload this first, I'll probably upload the Volcanion PS Live first, but yeah, that team, I submitted to the team building competition actually, because the other teams, okay, so Volcanion plus Bantar is a very common core, and I've seen a lot of teams with it that are really similar, Volcanion, Bantar, Jirachi, Megaladias, Landorus T. Oh yeah, Volcanion plus Landorus T is really nice. Definitely a really great core. But Volcanion, what is it? Volcanion, Bantar, Lando T, Jirachi, Megaladias, and Breloom. I've also seen Keldeo. Yeah, I've seen both. I've also seen variants that use Weavile over Bantar, but I think Bantar is good. But in this case, they were using also Mega Scizor, and no, they were using regular Latias. I've seen Mega Heracross paired with Volcanion pretty nicely. Yeah, I think what else is it? Volcanion, Scizor, Bantar, Latios, Lando T, last one filler. Like, I like Torn in the last slot, but I've seen other stuff. I've seen Tom Bus use Volcanion plus Mega Zam with a kind of similar idea to Volcanion plus Mega Sceptile. And I've seen overwhelming cores like Volcanion plus Keldeo. I used Volcanion plus Azumarill, Volcanion plus Heatran. I'm not really sold on Volcanion plus Heatran, but I can definitely see Volcanion plus Keldeo putting in work. There's a lot of fun stuff to use with Volcanion. The thing I've been seeing the most is Volcanion plus Lando plus Lati plus Pursuiter plus Steel plus Fighting / Grass. I've seen a lot of builds with these, like, that might be really general, but I've seen a lot of builds with these. I've ended up recreating a lot of teams, like, ABR, if you watch Blunder, you know he uploaded a live with, what is this guy trying to do? He uploaded a live with, Volcanion plus Pursuit Emzor, and then it was using, and then it was utilizing, Clef Lati, Lando T, and Scarf Terrakion, which is kind of similar to where if you put if you go for a U-turn, like SD U-turn Zor over Pursuit, and then you put a Bantar over the Terrakion, and like, you basically can fit around, like, a lot of teams have a lot of similar varieties. I've seen Mega Heracross. One thing I forgot to mention, Mega Metagross has been paired with Volcanion, Celebi plus Volcanion, lots of cool Volcanion cores. I've seen a lot of common themes with Volcanion and some teams that I've really liked. I've ended up recreating some teams that other people have made or have been similar to things other people have made, although, like the very standard build, I don't know anyone who is the first person to build with any certain Volcanion archetype. Although I haven't seen any Volcanion Sceptile teams. I saw one other Volcanion Sceptile team after I posted mine that I thought was pretty nice, but had some weak sets, but... oh, come on. But, let's see. I said Volcanion. Basically, there are a lot of themes with building with Volcanion. Definitely, if you look at a lot of Volcanion teams, you'll definitely notice the themes and similarities between them that persist. I think one underrated potential partner is Hydreigon. Hydreigon plus Jirachi plus like stuff like that. But I've seen stuff like that. I'm not entirely convinced, but once I ended up building with Volcanion, and I ended up with a team that was really similar to the Keldeo, Jirachi, Hydreigon, Lando Tree, Superior team with Diancie Mega, but and I tried building around Volcanion plus Diancie, and I ended up actually getting something kind of similar, which is kind of curious, but oh my god, this guy. I probably could have turned around, whatever. But yeah, you'll definitely notice a lot of teams with Volcanion, and if you're doubtful that if you haven't used Volcanion yet, use it, and you will immediately see why it is good. I definitely think it's gonna be OU. At first I didn't think so, but after playing with it and playing against it, I think it will be. It definitely has the qualities of making an OU mod. It's kind of like, not the same thing, but like people are like, oh, Talonflame, 4 times weak to rocks, how's that everything ever gonna be OU? When it's like one of the best OU mons, despite this self-rocks weakness, which is pretty crippling, but it's definitely like, Volcanion's good. It's good. Water Fire plus Water Absorb is really unique defensive typing. Really unique, and it ends up making a splash, but the biggest thing is the Fire-Water coverage that's with extremely high base power, and high base power attacks, and ability to burn with Steam Eruption, which is freaking nuts. Like, when Latios is your switch in to Volcanion, and it's taking 55% from Steam Eruption, that's insane. I mean, the thing is, Volcanion is heavily crippled by its Stealth Rock's weakness and its middling speed. I don't think it's going to be broken. No way. I highly doubt it. But the number of good switches to it are definitely low. I've heard people using Suicune to kind of try to handle it and stuff. I'm not so. I mean, Suicune. I mean, we have yet to see. Like, it's really early on in the Volcanion metagame, so I've yet to see whether certain threats will rise and establish themselves in this Volcanion metagame. God damn it! But I'm definitely excited with Volcanion. I've built a lot of teams with it. A lot of teams are similar to other teams I've seen, but were created independently. So I know I'm on the right track. But the team I'm most happy with so far is a Volcanion Sceptile team. I feel like it's the most polished and effective. Well, not necessarily the most effective, but it's definitely the most polished build of them all. I ended up recreating 2 ABR builds. I ended up recreating the Tarak, Clef, Emzor thing, and I also ended up recreating, although I'm not entirely convinced that team is the best, but it's kind of cool. It has some cool ideas. Like, I know ABR and I wanted to build around Band Rack plus Pursuit Emzor earlier, and now that team has to use Scarf Rack, which I think is meh, but kind of similar. When we were building Band Rack plus Pursuit Emzor, this was during OLT, we ended up giving up on that build, but we got to it later. Or ABR got to it later, I guess. Not necessarily with Band Rack though, but we saw some similar builds from him in SPL too. You saw a lot of Clef from him in SPL, but let's see. The other team I ended up recreating was the Mega Latias archetype with Breloom, Volcanion, Breloom or Keldeo. P2 uses Subsim Keldeo. Subsim Keldeo is surprisingly underrated. Like, I've actually built a recent team with it, and I don't think, like, it had T-Spikes too and stuff, and it had Pursuit Trapping, and I thought it was kind of nice, but overall the team was lacking in offensive presence, so I haven't tested that team so much, but I wasn't liking Subsame Keld on that. But I think teams with a lot of offensive presence can appreciate Subsame Keld, just because it pressures defensive builds more than you think. It doesn't break stall at all. It's kind of situational actually, but it definitely does put pressure on defensive builds in a unique way when you can substitute. Like, if your opponent's Starmie lacks Psyshock, Subscam Keldeo is gonna kill it. Like, or if it has T-Bolt, it might have a chance, but if you sub on the switch to a Starmie and start Calm Minding and it doesn't have a way to hit you, you're golden. But and I know, like, for example, Mr. Jambad loves to use Toxic on his Starmies. I've seen T-Waves on Starmies, and no Psyshock, and it's Starmies or Keldeo switches, so pretty interesting. But So yeah, Volcanion definitely has some similarities to Keldeo, but the fact that grass types can't come in safely on it is like, I think, really, really big. I think grass types like Amoonguss have been growing in popularity recently, and like not being stopped by those is pretty insane. Really, really insane. And Volcanion is a truck, man. It's a truck. Anyway, now we're gonna try to get to the top of the leaderboard. I've been talking and my mouth is dry, and this has been 25 minutes. Okay, so I died, and I pretty much am done ranting about Pokemon, so I guess I'm just gonna end it right here. Hope you guys enjoyed me not even really playing Slither, but I kinda did. Shoutouts to Brian Dean, and leave a comment if you know who I'm talking about, and yeah, that's it. See you guys later.